They're laughing, but this is a bad deal for the country.
Now, did our Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, really embarrass herself in Parliament again? When the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, was bigging up a meh deal that was probably better than the one that the Tory party had left us with. He painted it as this wonderful utopia trade deal that is the best deal that anybody has ever signed, and boy, he made sure to scupper our Kemi Badenoch's reply as basically a bit of a waste of oxygen.
Mr. Speaker, the reaction to this deal from business has been absolutely clear. Mr. Speaker, I know you're a stickler for time. I don't have time to run through the list of supportive quotes from businesses. But this... Fine. All right. But this new partnership...
It was great.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this new partnership has been backed. This isn't the full list. The Federation of Small Businesses, the CBI, the Richest Retail Consortium, Asda, Morrison's, Salmon Scotland, the Food and Drink Foundation, the British Chamber of Commerce, Ryanair, Vodafone, producers of meat, foil and poultry, and on it goes. And I wonder whether that long list of businesses coming out to support this deal will temper the reaction of the Leader of the Opposition in her response. But then again, for weeks now, she's been dismissive of the benefits of any trade deal, in defiance, frankly, of her party's history. But it's not just them, it's also the member for Clapton, who's not here, the member for Kingston, who've both shown in their own ways that their parties simply do not get that if your whole approach to our allies is about striking a pose, then you don't get to strike a deal.
Go get 'em, Tiger. But yes, every Brextremist's love of their lives, Nigel Foghorn of ignorance, was absent. But we'll get to the reason why that is later on. But this is clearly a show of whatever nonsense our half-fat Farage wannabe Leader of the Opposition comes out with will be just sound like that utter nonsense. But anyway, this was her moment to shine, tear holes into this mare of a deal that's only better than what herself and her party negotiated and signed. Still not even close to us being in the EU single market or customs union, but still, Kamikaze, show us what you're made of.
When Labour negotiates, Britain loses.
Oh dear, not a good starter. I also love the way she thought it would be a good line to ignore all those businesses' views by thinking that mentioning only one organisation, the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisation, as a great leveller. He knows those who thought it was a horrendous deal. But anyway, she then insulted the electorate by basically saying, how could you have voted us out last year, you plebs? You should be grateful for these wonderful trade deals like the CTPPP, or whatever you like to call it. You know, these brilliant deals for Australia and New Zealand, and that was horrendous for us and our farmers. You know, the ones that we pretend to care about now. Then the comedic political stand-up reached fever pitch when she finished with these pearls of wisdom.
Mr. Speaker, in government, details matter, and so does honesty. They're laughing, but this is a bad deal for the country. Look at them. This is how they laughed at the budget. They have no idea what it is they've signed up to. He said he would stay out of the single market. He's going into the single market for agri-food, electricity and energy. He said he'd stay out of the customs union, but he is accepting EU tariff rules. How does he plan to stop the EU changing them to our disadvantage? He has no idea, neither do any of them. Because the British people know, Mr. Speaker, when they are being misled. They know that headlines fail. He didn't listen to the CBI on the jobs tax. He didn't listen to the FSB on the family farms tax. This deal has already unravelled. The damage is becoming clear. The political consequences will be huge. And here he is, trumpeting his success. And when he stands up in a moment, he'll deflect, he'll dismiss, he'll distract. But we all know the truth. This was a fiction of a speech, a fraud of a deal, a failure of a Prime Minister.
Oh dear. That was just such an unserious response.
Oh dear, indeed. No, kamikaze, they're not laughing at the country as she tried to portray in a clip she cut up and clipped for Twitter. Kemi, they're laughing at you. You could see it in Stride's face as well, as he's quietly plotting his leadership bid again. And as we all can tell, she will not be leading them into the next election, that is for certain. She also had a full bench at the start and on her side and rooting for her, but the more she sounded as mad as Dizzy Liz Truss, you could tell the more they just wished they were somewhere else. But what Keir Starmer said here while going through the deal just basically sums up this Tory party to a T.
Mr. Speaker, she is against every single deal. She's the only ex-Trade Secretary who's against every single deal. This deal has been welcomed broadly because they're good deals. Now let me turn... Oh, Mr. Speaker, you don't get a great long list of endorsements from all of the business associations, all of the companies. It's just they're so unserious that they're lost. They're lost into a descent in the abyss. They used to be a proud party of trading agreements. They have slid off into the abyss. That's where they are.
I totally agree. They're about as serious as Kemi Badenoch's speech here. And that speech was about as mad as they come. Clearly, what she was trying to do was reignite the Brexit battle bus of the past with slogans of Brexit betrayal and surrender and totally embarrassing herself again. But the best analogy given on this nonsense has to go to someone who, in my mind, since the election, whose party have been the best at holding this government to account. Yeah, I know that the SNP do as well and other small parties do, but that's not as often as since the last election, is it really, unfortunately? But this analogy from Ed Davey sums up this nonsense of this Tory party to a T.
So can I welcome the progress on these issues, even if it is only very limited progress on things like youth mobility? Because, Mr. Speaker, we've all seen the terrible damage caused by the Conservatives' Brexit deal. And hearing the Conservative leader complain today is like listening to a backseat driver who previously crashed the car. Our country has moved on from the divisive Brexit wars of a decade ago, and some members of this House need to do the same.
I totally agree, because those clowns like Kemi Badenoch, then she was followed by the same tired old outfits like Sir Bernard Jenkins, weekend warrior Mark Francois, and the former Minister for Common Sense Esther McVeigh, and other Tory extremist tits to soil themselves and embarrass themselves by trying to reignite the Brexit battles of betrayal and surrender. Even Reform's Deputy Dubai Dick Tice tried his hand at trying to restart the Brexit battles as well. If there was any chance of that happening, why wasn't Nigel Foghorn of Ignorance there to ask it? Do you honestly think that if there was a chance of using Brexit again to aid the reform research, he would have left it to his donut deputy Dubai Dick? Nah, not a chance. He would have wanted to be the centre of attention, wouldn't he? He would have had it clipped up for his cultists to froth over on Twitter, wouldn't he? And for me, I'm getting the feeling that he knows that Brexit is something to use is dead. Because if there was still life in this nonsense, he would have been all over it. You know, like a milkshake would have been over a horrible racist piece of shit suit, wouldn't he? And for me, Nigel Farage believes that immigration is the new Brexit. Stay well clear of trying to reopen Brexit wounds of empty shelves, queues at Dover, and all the other visibly clear damages that this Brexit he wanted has done, because that means he might have to answer very difficult questions in the future. Also, he clearly thinks that he would prefer to be in France instead, you know, with his trotters up, instead of representing his constituency. True patriot. But those are my thoughts. What are yours, my friends? Kemi Badenoch really embarrassed herself in Parliament again yesterday? Let me know down below. And if you want to watch this interesting video about RFK Jr. getting exposed in a lie, then please watch this video here and take care, my friends.